We gotta go. Howdy, my totally Tubular gang. We're back with another video.
Well, it might seem really hard to believe, but we are halfway through 2025, and not only are we halfway through 2025, we're halfway through the 2020s at this point. Yeah, I really don't know what happened here. It feels like it was just a few weeks ago that 2020 started, and we're already halfway through the entire decade. But you know what there have been plenty of in this decade? Fantastic video games. Every single year of the 2020s has brought some truly excellent video games that are worth your time. And so for today's video, I thought I would talk to you all about the 25 best games released in the 2020s, so far that is. I'll be looking at games from early 2020 all the way up until now, and these are all, at least in my opinion, must-play experiences. Obviously a list like this is going to be incredibly subjective. That's a pretty big time frame. There's been a lot of great games, and I haven't been able to play every single one, but here's 25 of my favorites. This is not a ranking video. This list is in no particular order, and I won't be giving each of these games a full-fledged review. I've talked about pretty much all of them in the past at great length, and so for the purpose of today's video, I'll just be highlighting some of my favorite things about these games. But before we begin, I do have one ground rule that I'm sure some people aren't going to like. I am looking at games that released for the very first time in the 2020s. That means no remasters, no remakes, not even any reimaginings. I am only looking at completely fresh, new experiences that have come out over the last 5 years. So no Resident Evil remakes, no Silent Hill 2, no Dead Space remake, not even the Final Fantasy VII remake, reimagining, whatever you want to call those games. Those aren't here. These are brand new games. But you certainly can let me know down below of your favorite remakes of the 2020s. Shoot, just let me know what your favorite games of the 2020s have been so far. Here's 25 stellar games that are worth your time. I'm totally Tubular Jonathan. Let's get to the games. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and let's start it off. So I thought we'd kick things off with the excellent Ghost of Tsushima releasing in 2020. I very much remember when this came out. I was super excited for it, and it did not disappoint. This really is one of the best open world games of the 2020s, and here we are all these years later, and the game is still phenomenal. It also still looks absolutely incredible. Like, this is still one of the best looking games of the 2020s, and this game came out like 5 years ago. It's crazy that this was initially on PS4. The PS5 version looks even better, and it runs like a dream. But this game isn't just a graphical showcase. There's actually a really great game here. The combat is excellent. Some of the best sword combat you'll find, and that really is saying something considering how many sword-based games have come out in the last 5 years. But sometimes you can totally avoid the sword fights as well, as you can be very stealthy in this game, and the stealth is actually pretty good. It's not revolutionary, it's not exactly innovative, but it is very refined, and it very much is a way that you can play this game, and I think the stealth is quite enjoyable. I also thought the story was pretty interesting. Jin Sakai is a good protagonist, and I really wanted to see where the story would go next, and I certainly was not disappointed. Something else that I really loved about this game is the open world and the mission quality. There have been plenty of open world games, but this game just had a phenomenally designed open world where all of the biomes were different. It was interesting to explore. There was a lot to see. It didn't feel like some Ubisoft checklist, and I found all of the side content to be meaningful, engaging, and actually interesting. It was also, you know, worth doing, so that's a huge plus. I also love how the wind would pretty much tell you where to go. More games need to have that. There was eventually an expansion to this game and even some multiplayer added, and yeah, I got zero problem recommending this game. All these years later, it's still a phenomenal game and 100% worth your time, especially considering the new Ghost game is coming out. Well, from one of the most graphically impressive games of the 2020s to Vampire Survivors. However, don't let its simple presentation fool you. Vampire Survivors is one of the most addicting video games that I have ever played, let alone the 2020s. I mean, this game pretty much started its own entire subgenre where it's basically a shoot 'em up in reverse. Instead of you trying to dodge all of the bullets to get to the boss, you are the boss. You are just spamming every kind of projectile all over the place, and everything in their mom is trying to rip you a new asshole. But you'll absolutely annihilate these fools thanks to all of the different weapons and power-ups you pick up, and it is so much fun. Is it the most complex? Is it the most nuanced and involved? Absolutely not, but it is still so enjoyable. I have spent countless hours on this game. I had no problem just turning my brain off, sitting down with this one, and having a good old time. And while I know that kind of game is not for everybody, I still think Vampire Survivors is absolutely worth your time. There's also a bunch of secrets. There's been a number of DLCs, some really incredible DLCs I might add, that have a ton of fan service to like Contra, Among Us of all things, even Castlevania. And these DLCs just allow the game to get crazier and crazier. It's available on all consoles, it's even on your phone, and it's easily the cheapest game on this entire list. You'll get hours and hours out of it. It's incredibly replayable, and man, just talking about this game makes me want to go back to it. The presentation, while simple, is still nice. The music is actually very good. A lot of amazing remixes in those DLCs, and it really has some of the most addicting gameplay of any game on this list. Such a good time. So here we have one I'm certain you've heard of, and that is Astrobot. This one has obviously gotten a lot of acclaim and many Game of the Year awards, but it really is one of the best games of the 2020s, and it's arguably the best 3D platformer of the 2020s. You know, I thought Astro's Playroom was actually way better than it had any right to be, and Astrobot really expands on everything Playroom did and then some. The game looks absolutely phenomenal, 10 out of 10, no notes when it comes to the presentation, but the gameplay is really solid as well. Astrobot feels really nice to control, and it's just straight up one of the best controlling, best handling 3D platformers of all time. Outside of games that include Mario, very few 3D platformers feel this nice, and Astrobot's moveset, while rather basic, actually gets expanded on in just about every level. Nearly every level is some kind of gimmick or power-up, and all of them are actually very well done. They're interesting, they're engaging, and there's just so much creativity here. This game is just bursting through the seams with creativity. Every single level feels very different from the last. They're all memorable. There's tons of set pieces, and then there's all the Astrobots themselves. These are the main collectibles, and there's so much fan service to not only PlayStation, but video games in general. And I love the fan service. I think this is one of the greatest collectibles ever. I actually 100%ed this game. I really digged it. This game also has some of the best pacing of any game from the 2020s, like from start to finish, it is just phenomenal. It does not waste your time at all. It doesn't go on and on and on. Even to 100% the game, it didn't take me more than like 15 or so hours. And I tell you, that is a very high quality 10 to 15 hours you'll get out of this game, and I'd much rather have that than some long drawn out 40-50 hour experience. This game is arguably the best game Sony has put out in the 2020s, and I think everybody with a PS5 really should check this one out. But hey, here we got a game that came out this year, Expedition 33. Yes, it is not even close for me. Expedition 33 really is one of the best games of the 2020s as a whole, and arguably the best game of 2025 so far. I mean, what else really needs to be said about this one? It's been the talk of the town for months now, from its incredible development story to just how good the game actually is. Like, this is one of those games that just absolutely nails it in just about every possible way. Despite being essentially a AA game, it looks absolutely incredible. It's one of the best looking games of the year, and then it has such a delightful soundtrack that I've been listening to for months now. But it goes even further. The story, oh, this game goes crazy with the story. This game is incredibly deep, memorable, exciting, engaging, all those positive adjectives. You can apply that to this game's story. Like, the beginning is very emotional, and it takes some really heavy twists and turns that I really didn't see coming. The writing is actually very well done. The voice acting is absolutely on point. Like, this game, when it comes to its storytelling, is something else. But the gameplay also really slaps. Like, it is some of the best turn-based gameplay we've ever gotten in a game. It feels really nice. I love all of the timing-based gameplay, like when you want to do the parry or the dodge. It feels really nice to do a great parry. There's actually a fair amount of strategy to the turn-based combat. All of the characters do feel incredibly different from each other, and yeah, you can have some really broken builds that are just strong as shit, but the game is also ready for you to bring that, and it can kick your ass as well. The combat is just some of the most enjoyable combat I've had in a game in quite some time. The pacing and general progression is also pretty incredible in this game. Like, there's no fluff, there's no extra crap thrown in here. It starts at 100 and it stays at 100 the entire time. It also won't take an eternity. Plenty of other RPGs take 30, 40, 50, 80 hours to complete. No, this game game's like a 20 to 30 hour experience, and every single one of those hours is probably going to be pretty different from the last. Like, everybody's been gassing this game up for months now, but you know what? It absolutely deserves it. It just came in here and killed it. It really did. It's so good. I would recommend it to people that don't even like RPGs. I think there's something here for everybody. And then here we have Hades. It hit 1.0 in 2020, and I mean, what else really needs to be said about Hades? This is not only one of the greatest indie games of all time, but it really is arguably like the greatest roguelike ever. While yes, technically Hades 2 is out in early access, I have yet to try that. I'm waiting for it to hit 1.0, and you know what? I still got Hades 1 to tie me over, because this game, holy moly, this is a good ass game. I've had hundreds, dozens of runs with this game, and I cannot believe just how different all of them feel from each other. The gameplay just has a surprising amount of depth and variety, and the runs do enough things differently to the point where legit every single one feels different from the last. You'll do so many runs in this game, but they'll all have little differences here and there, more so than pretty much any other game of this genre. And the combat just feels so good in this game, no matter which weapon you're using, and they all feel very different from each other. It just feels excellent. Fighting these enemies are great, fighting the bosses are even better. The game is challenging, but it's fair and rewarding for the most part, and then it's got a great story behind it. I actually really do enjoy the story, the writing, and the characters of Hades. It's very well developed, and then the music, the music goes crazy. While the presentation is easy on the eyes, I think the game is a nice art style, and what you end up having here really is a must-play experience. Even if you're somebody that doesn't like this type of game, you don't like this genre at all, you don't like the idea of doing multiple runs or having to start over every time, this game just does it differently. It does it in a way that I feel like no other game has truly been able to capture. Yeah, there's been a few Hades-likes throughout the years, but none of them are Hades. Hades is one of the GOATs, and at this point, there's really just no question about it. So here's one I haven't talked about for at least 5 videos, Baldur's Taint 3. Now, I couldn't go a video without talking about this game, it felt like, and that's just because the game is that damn good. This really is one of the greatest role-playing games ever made, like full stop. It's just absolutely outstanding in every sense of the word, from the story, to the characters, to the writing, to the world building, to the moment-to-moment gameplay, the combat, the actual role-playing aspect, all of the choices you get to make, how important your character and background is, the presentation. Honestly, it still feels a bit unreal all these years later just how good this game is in like every single aspect. When I first started playing this game, you know, I'd heard good things about it, but I did not realize just how hooked I would actually get to it. I was insanely invested in these characters, this world. I had to know what was going to happen next. The combat, well, a little confusing at first, I actually got really into. I very much enjoyed it, even with all the dice bullshit. I liked how much strategy there was during the combat, and then the choices we got to make were just insane. It was crazy how many different choices there were and how different all of the choices were themselves. You could play through this game like a dozen times, getting completely different outcomes in certain situations. Like, there's just that many different things going on with it. It looks nice, the music is nice, and the voice acting is really well done also. Like, the voice acting, it really helps out a lot of these characters, and I think this is just one of those games that everybody, and I mean everybody, should try. I don't care if you don't like turn-based, I don't care if you like D&D, I think this is still worth giving a shot. And honestly, 2 years later, the game is better than ever. There's been a number of updates, and some of these are really substantial, like adding more classes, a bunch of quality of life features, taking in player feedback. Like, the game legit is even better somehow. As you can see, I played through the entire game cooperatively. I thought it was great. I immediately went back and played even more of this game though, because it's just that good. At this point, this game really is just a legendary game, and I wouldn't be surprised if it goes down as maybe the best game of the 2020s, full stop. Like, it actually is that good. And then here we have what is arguably the best racing game of the 2020s, Forza Horizon 5. Now, I've played plenty of Forza, and especially Forza Horizon, but this game is easily the most fun I've had with any Forza title to date. And it really feels like they tried to create just the most fun experience possible. They drop you into this just massive open world, and there is so many things to do. Yeah, there are some main, air quote, main missions, but a lot of the fun just comes from driving off and doing whatever the hell you want. And there's so many fun missions here, and they're all actually very different from each other. There's a bunch of different mission types, and they involve more than just driving point A to B. Sometimes it's just a little race, sometimes you're driving up the side of a volcano. They really do keep things interesting here. Something that also helps keep the game interesting is the car selection. The car selection is phenomenal. It is absolutely superb in this game. It is one of the best you will find in any racing game, period. There are so many cars in this game, it's not even funny. We got every type of car imaginable, it feels like. And what's great is that the game is constantly giving you more and more cars. It doesn't make you sit with one car for like 10 hours and then you finally get something else. No, it is constantly rewarding you cars, and it's just this dopamine adrenaline rush that really never gets old. Like, I have put 30-40 hours into this game and I was still having a ton of fun with it, still getting a bunch of new cars, and that's even without all the DLC and the live service stuff. Like, this game has been getting updates for years. It's gotten better and better. The multiplayer is excellent. The presentation, I mean, just look at it. It's a great looking game. The music is absolutely on point. Oh yeah, and that little thing that's kind of important to racing games, the what was it? The driving. Yeah, that's really great too. The driving is excellent in this game. All of the cars feel really nice. They actually do feel different from each other. While it obviously isn't the most realistic, not like the Motorsport series, it all just feels amazing. If you're somebody that likes driving games and you haven't checked this one out yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's even on PS5 now, and I've heard that version's great. Go check this out. Racing games really haven't been better than this in the last few years. And so here's one you might not have expected, Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now, I love Pokemon, I have ever since I was a little kid, but even I'll tell you that over the last decade or so, mainline Pokemon has been struggling quite a bit. But Pokemon Legends Arceus, oh, this is a good one. Not only is it just a good one, it's like arguably the best Pokemon game ever. I could not believe how good this game was when I was playing it. Sure, it's not the prettiest and it doesn't have the best frame rate, but the gameplay and changes made to the overall formula are not only incredibly fresh for Pokemon, but it creates some of the most fun I've ever had with a Pokemon game. It was genuinely really enjoyable. Yeah, the story and writing and general plot are kinda stupid, seeing you go back to what is essentially feudal Japan to create the first ever Pokedex, but the game absolutely runs with it and creates a very unique vibe. Something that I've always really loved about this game is the real-time elements. You can sneak up on Pokemon now, just throw the Pokeball at them and catch them like that, and you know what? This shit never got old. It was fun at the beginning and it was fun at the end. I really enjoyed this. When you do actually have to go into a battle, you'll see that there have been a few changes from other Pokemon games. They introduced these little styles, and I think it adds a little bit of depth, a little bit more strategy that Pokemon absolutely needed. And I can't believe I'm saying this. This is like the only Pokemon game I've ever played where I actually wanted to catch them all. The game really rewards you for catching all of these Pokemon, and it's just a really addicting, fun gameplay loop. You'll want to try to get as many Pokemon as you possibly can. You'll want to explore all of these areas, and it was just incredibly engaging throughout. And I didn't realize just how good the game was until I was starting to wrap it up, and then I was like, man, I don't really want this game to end, and that's when it hit me. This game's hella good, and I think you should check it out. Even if you're somebody who hasn't played Pokemon for years and years, I think you'll like this one. And so for our next title, I think we have a game that most people are very, very familiar with, and that is Balatro. Now, if you don't know Balatro, this is a roguelike deck builder, but there's never been anything like Balatro before. It's essentially a poker roguelike, and it really does feel like it's poker on crack. Now, I had heard good things about this game for months on end, but I finally gave it a shot late last year, and wow, I was immediately hooked. I played a shit ton of this game and I absolutely loved it. I cannot believe just how many different ways there are to play this game, how many different strategies, how many combinations there are, hundreds, thousands, dozens even of combinations. It's not even funny. There's no LMAO, there's no LOL, and there's no raffle here. There is really like endless ways to play Balatro. While it might not necessarily look the most exciting, this game just has it. It has that aura, that hypnotic vibe and feel to it that makes you want to just play more and more. The music is really good, even if it is just like one track. It's very good, it's adaptive. The noises the cards make, especially when you get the fireman, it's all so just addicting. I got really no other word for it. You'll just want to try to get as many points as possible. You want the number to go up, and as you play more and more, you'll unlock more jokers, which are basically the special cards that allow the crazy shit to happen, and you'll just have some wild combinations. I have put quite a lot of time into this game, and honestly, I'd love to play more of it, but I'm always overloaded with a bunch of games. If I wasn't, I'd probably just sit down and play Balatro until I had seen like as much as I possibly could see, done all the challenges, etc., because it's just so fucking good. I don't even really like card games or roguelike deck builders. This game is completely out of my wheelhouse, but it totally hit with me, and I think it'll hit with most people as well. So here we have one that doesn't get talked about enough, and that is Psychonauts 2. Now, I was very much anticipating this one. I adore the original Psychonauts. It's one of my favorite games ever, and I was kind of nervous for it because it had been so long since the first game, but you know what? This game is actually really good. It is about as good as the original, which is pretty crazy. Like, how many times does a sequel come out like 15 years later and it's just as good as the original? The story continues on from the original and it's actually really good. There's some excellent characters, they're all likable, the writing is good, the game has a great sense of humor, and it really feels like they captured the vibe and atmosphere of the original game. And when it comes to the gameplay, it's not all that different from the original either. There's like this area you get to explore in the real world, but the meat and potatoes of the game is going into people's minds. And when you go into their minds, there's some freaky deaky shit that might be going on here. There's a lot of platforming, there's puzzle solving, and there's just a lot of variety when it comes to the levels in this game. I love how different everyone's level is. Like, some areas are completely different from the last. Sometimes they have a completely different art style even. And it leads to just one of the most entertaining, enjoyable 3D platformers of the 2025s, full stop. The game controls nice, it looks nice, and I thought the story was actually really compelling. Are we going to get a Psychonauts 3? I don't know at this point, doesn't really matter. We got an excellent Psychonauts 2. It's just crazy we got a follow-up to begin with, and it was actually really good. I feel like over the last few years, this one has kind of fallen by the wayside outside of 3D platformer circles, and that's a damn shame because this game really is more than just a little 3D platformer. It's an outstanding experience that very much is worth your time. And so here we have certainly a favorite of mine, and that is Doom Eternal. Now, if you put a gun to my head and ask me what is the best first-person shooter of the 2020s, there's a very good chance I would say Doom Eternal. I mean, it's Doom. It's the big motherfucker of shooters, it's the gold standard, and I think Eternal is one of the best Doom games ever. Is it pretty different from what Doom 2016 is, and what now Doom the Dark Ages is? Yeah, but I still think the game's hella good. And it low-key created an entire subgenre in the first-person shooter scene where it's all about being as fast as possible. Like, there were obviously fast FPS games before Doom Eternal, but things really changed after Eternal. This game is just blisteringly fast with you flying all over the place, scrambling between your different weapons to take out these enemies in the most effective way. There's plenty of ripping and tearing, there's some platforming, but I actually like that. And you even get a few other little tools at your disposal, like the belch cannon where you can shoot fire out, and it all creates just one of the most engaging first-person shooters you will ever play. It is very intense. It is a demanding game that requires 100% of your attention, or you will get killed. The game is actually somewhat challenging, and the enemies can also rip you a new one. But once it all comes together, once everything really starts to click, oh, there's nothing else like it. It just feels incredible. You feel unstoppable. You feel so powerful. And it really creates an incredible power fantasy. It is some of the most fun I've had with not only the first-person shooter in the 2020s, but in general. There's so many cool weapons, so many awesome moments, a lot of engaging levels, 2 incredible DLCs. Yeah, if you like FPS games at all, Doom Eternal really is a must-play in my opinion. Even with the faster pace, even with how exhausting it can feel, there's just nothing else like it. And at this point, I don't know if there's ever going to be anything else like it. While the Dark Ages is cool, it is nothing like Eternal. But Eternal wasn't the only great game that came out that day. We also have Animal Crossing New Horizons, which is obviously a very different type of game from Doom Eternal. But yeah, I remember they released on the same day, and I was so excited for both of them, and they both ended up being some of the best games of the 2020s for very different reasons. I know it might be easy to forget since we're 5 years removed, but this game was a fucking cultural phenomenon. Like, everybody was talking about New Horizons. It was all over my feeds. Like, I haven't seen so many people talk about a game in forever, and maybe that's because of when it came out during COVID, but it's also the newest Animal Crossing, and it's one of the best Animal Crossings ever. Like, I've always loved Animal Crossing since the GameCube, and this game it really felt like it moved the series forward in a lot of substantial ways. I liked having my island. I liked customizing the island. It really brought in a lot of quality of life features. There's a bunch of new characters and events. I liked the crafting, and I liked really just bringing everything up to how I wanted it. I played this game for months, as did most people, and while sure, they didn't add an absolute shit ton of stuff in the post-launch like some people thought they would, you gotta also look at what they really added here. I thought they actually introduced a lot of really cool stuff to the Animal Crossing formula, and it's gonna go down as one of the most memorable times in my entire gaming career, where my life really just felt like it was Animal Crossing for a while, for a little bit at least. I mean, everyone was locked up because of COVID. My last bit of schooling went online. I didn't even have to go to work because it was basically canceled. So yeah, I really just played this, and yeah, I got no regrets here. I think it's my most played game on the Switch in general, over 100 hours, which, as I've said before, is pretty rare when I play over 100 hours in a game. But you know what? This one was absolutely worth it, and at this point, I really can't wait for the next Animal Crossing. You know they're cooking and trying to come up with something crazy, but New Horizons, one of the best times I've had with a game in the 2020s. And so here we have one of the bangers of 2024, Metaphor ReFantazio. Now, I was pretty excited for this one. It feels like it's been forever since Atlus made something that wasn't SMT or Persona, and you know what? This is the best Atlus game since Persona 5. Like, this is a wonderful game that not only exceeded my expectations, but is genuinely one of the best turn-based RPGs, just period. Like, the game was pretty mind-blowing in a lot of areas, especially when it comes to the world building and story. Like, this is a dark, depressing game filled with lots of memorable, sad moments, but it's also immensely compelling. All of the characters are really great. The dialogue is excellent. Everyone is so memorable. They all have their own little quirks and traits, and I'd argue that there's not a single bad character here. Even the antagonists, you come to really hate these fuckers, and you know what? That's just the sign of a good antagonist, and things only get better and better as they progress. Like, yes, this is a 50-60 hour long RPG, but it really feels like a big epic adventure. And as much as I love Persona and SMT, neither of those franchises have ever given me this feeling. And when it comes to the gameplay, I mean, it's really the awesome turn-based gameplay that Atlus has pretty much perfected at this point. Yeah, it isn't all that different from Persona or SMT, but there's plenty of little differences here and there, and yeah, it's just really stellar stuff. I love how every person essentially has their own class or job, or, you know, if you're obsessed with Persona, everybody gets their own persona, and it leads to a lot of customization and deep gameplay. The social sim element of Persona does show up here, but there's a lot more going on under the hood. If you have not tried Metaphor and you do enjoy RPGs, I really think you should check this one out. Like, turn-based RPGs don't get all that much better than this, outside of maybe Baldur's Taint 3, but Baldur's Taint 3 got nothing on this game's soundtrack or visual design. It's some of the best you will see in any video game ever. Like, they really outdid themselves when it comes to the visuals, the UI, and the soundtrack. It's goated stuff here. The game in general is mad good. But speaking of phenomenal RPGs, we have Elden Ring. Now, you know Elden Ring, I know Elden Ring. It's one of the best games of the 2020s. Along with Baldur's Taint 3, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the decade, people say that this might be the game of the decade. It's that freaking good. It really was an evolution of Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro, all of From's previous games coming together to create something truly special. One of the best open worlds you will find in any video game. It's absolutely gargantuan, but it all feels meticulously crafted, where every nook and cranny is actually meaningful. The loot isn't just a bunch of random shit. Everything's actually placed down with intention. It's so much fun to explore, and it's incredibly replayable as well. The game also has just this incredible atmosphere, and the storytelling is actually pretty good in this one as well. Sure, it might not be super in your face or the most exciting, but I still thought it was cool nonetheless. When it comes to the combat, it really is like the best combat From Software has in any of their games, along with Sekiro. It's not as intense as Sekiro, but it still feels really nice. There's actually a lot of depth, and there's a ton of weapons, and these weapons feel incredibly different from each other. You can have some really varied play styles in this game, more so than Dark Souls, which also had a lot of variety as well, but Elden Ring just takes things to a whole nother level. And then there's just so many nice quality of life improvements to the Souls formula. For instance, boss runs where you die and you have to run from the bonfire to the boss are just completely gone now. The bonfires are right there. Thank you. They made the game more accessible in the right ways, meaning that just about anybody could get into it. Yeah, it's challenging. It's going to kick your ass plenty of times, but they also give you more than enough tools to succeed here. You can beat the game if you really stick to it, and then you'll probably want to play through it again because it's just such a great time. And then there was also the DLC, which I know less people liked, but it seems like it was pretty good as well. I mean, the thing was nominated for Game of the Year somehow, so yeah, they must have done something right. But regardless of all that, Elden Ring really is one of those must-play titles in my opinion. Like, I think everybody should check it out, even if you don't like Souls-likes or RPGs or you've never tried a game like this. I think this is a great entry point, and I think most people were blown away by it. So here's one actually from 2025 with Split Fiction. Now I very much could have had It Takes Two and Split Fiction, or It Just Takes Two, but at the end of the day, when looking at them, I've got to give the edge to Split Fiction. Barely. Just barely though. So if you're not all that familiar with Split Fiction, it is a co-op focused 3D platformer action adventure game with a fun little story about these two women basically getting sucked into each other's worlds and just trying to get out of it. While there is a lot of 3D platforming, more than any other gameplay style, the game mixes it up every 30 minutes to an hour with some completely different gameplay. You might be 3D platforming at one point, the next it becomes a third-person shooter, then you're racing down a mountain like it's SSX, then you're solving all these puzzles, at one point it becomes a pinball game and it's actually really cool, and then the game just goes fucking nuts at the very end of it. But all of it has one theme in mind: co-op. It is all very cooperative. You have to work together pretty much the entire time. Everything relies on both players working together. You cannot play this in single player. But you know what? It just works. It comes together and it creates one of the most unique experiences you'll ever have with a video game, and I love it. I think that your mileage might vary depending on who you're playing this with, but either way, you're going to have a really good time. While the story won't blow you away and the writing and characters are just kinda there, the game has more than enough incredible set pieces, a great sense of humor, and really just some of the craziest shit you'll see in any video game of the 2020s. And at least for me personally, it's easily the best cooperative game of the 2020s, full stop. Nothing else even comes close to it outside of It Takes Two. So here's one you've probably heard of, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So this is obviously the follow-up to Breath of the Wild, which was just an incredible game and really a game changer for not only Nintendo but the entire industry. And Tears of the Kingdom, while it isn't as innovative or revolutionary, is still a delightful game. And it features not only one of the best open worlds, but one of the biggest also. Pretty much everything comes back from Breath of the Wild, only now they've added the sky and this massive underground area that is like the size of the main map. It's pretty wild how big this game is. But the game is certainly more than just its giant open world. It also has a really compelling emotional story to it, with one of the most epic moments I've ever seen in a video game. If you know, you know. And I think the story is a hell of a lot better than whatever Breath of the Wild had. I also think the gameplay is better. You get new tools at your disposal and it allows you to get really, and I mean really, creative. Link can do so much in this game, it's not even funny. You can piece stuff together, you can create these contraptions, you can solve puzzles in completely unintended ways, and you know what? That's just the fun of it. There are hundreds, dozens of shrines, and there's just so much exploration to this game. Very few games can match this game's level of exploration. Like, exploring in a video game doesn't get much better than Tears of the Kingdom. There's so much to find. It's also handcrafted, and I just found it to be all immensely enjoyable. Like, I feel like I got completely engrossed and immersed into this world, and you could put well over 100, 200 hours into this, and you'd still be finding a bunch of new stuff. It really is one of those games where you just want to lock yourself in your room for like 10 hours and just get lost in this game's world, just be in absolute awe of what it is doing. Sure, the frame rate wasn't amazing on the Switch 1, and the game has its moments where it doesn't look incredible, but honestly, that barely ever mattered to me. I was playing games at like 15 FPS when I was younger. 30 looked fine to me, but the game is available now on the Switch 2 where it runs at a smooth 60, so if that was limiting your enjoyment for some reason, well, now you can enjoy it at a nice 60. Either way, you know how good this game is already, and you've probably already checked it out, but if you haven't, maybe you should. And so here we have a game that I'm a bit more familiar with on a personal level. That's because I did have a helping hand in this game's production, and that is God of War Ragnarok. Call me biased, but I genuinely think that this game is absolutely phenomenal. It has a wonderful story, some really nice gameplay, and I think that it's much better than the 2018 game. It very much is a sequel to the 2018 game, and you really want to play the 2018 game if you're going to play this one, and the story is only as good as it is because of that prior game. It just goes kinda crazy in this game, especially with Atreus, and I really found myself to be wildly invested in the characters, the story, the world. I was just fully immersed in everything and could not wait to see what was going to happen next. The story is one of the best stories of any game in the 2020s, but the gameplay is pretty good also. It is pretty much just an extension of the 2018 game, but they really start you with all of the upgrades from the previous game, so you get more than just, one weapon. There's a bunch of different moves and maneuvers. The combat, it just feels really nice. Is it perfect? No. Is it as good as God of War 3? Probably not, but I still found it pretty enjoyable. I like the game's structure and pacing. I think the side content is actually very well done. And then of course the game just kills it when it comes to the presentation. I mean, it looks absolutely amazing, and it has so many memorable moments. Like, this game, it's just insanely memorable, from the first part of the game with a certain fight, shoot, even a certain moment during that fight. I'm really not trying to spoil anything here, to the last few hours of the game. It just gets crazy. I have no other words for it. The storytelling really is something else, and I think the game is really worth playing, especially if you like story-based games or the previous God of War games. But then we have one of my all-time favorites. Y'all know how much I love this game, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. This is another one of those that I just talk about every few videos because I just have a burning passion for this game. I've been excited for it since the moment it was announced, and it absolutely did not disappoint. This game is just so freaking good. Essentially, it is a throwback, a love letter to Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future, only it's actually kind of better, especially when the gameplay is concerned. It's essentially a 3D platformer extreme sports game. It's all about you grinding, doing tricks, and tagging as much as you possibly can, and it is so much fun. The movement is so great in this game. It feels really nice. Tagging is really fun, and it feels like they brought Jet Set into the modern era. It's so good. The level design is very well done, and then the vibes, the music, and the presentation is just top tier. I really got nothing else to say about it. Like, I love how it looks. It's a really good throwback. The music, I'm still listening to the music nowadays, and it just has vibes that cannot be beat. There is a story here. It's alright, I guess, and there are other factions. Are they as memorable as Jet Set Radio? Is this game in general as memorable as Jet Set Radio? No, not really, but when it comes to being an actual video game, I do think it is better. And looking back, I would say that this is genuinely one of my favorite games of the last few years. Like, I just love it to pieces, and I really think everybody should give it a shot. Even if you don't like platformers, you don't like games like this, you might be surprised. It's absolutely not for everybody, and it probably won't blow most people away, but I love this one. But alright, I held off on talking about them for a second, but it's time we finally talk about the Like a Dragon series, the Yakuza series. Y'all know how much I love this series. It's like my favorite series of games at this point. Of course, I was going to include Yakuza somewhere here. I'm not choosing just Infinite Wealth. I'm going with both RPGs that have come out in the 2020s. That is Yakuza Like a Dragon and then Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Both of these are just absolutely incredible RPGs. We could genuinely be here all day talking about these games. I've made many videos about these games, and I'll make plenty more, so I'll keep things brief here. They both have incredible stories with some of the best characters of any video game. Ichiban, the main protagonist, is like the best protagonist of any JRPG, seriously. He's so well written, incredibly likable, just a real stand-up fella. The storytelling, the writing, the dialogue, it's all really great stuff here. And when it comes to the gameplay, it's a mix of Yakuza and a turn-based RPG. I love running around these areas that are incredibly detailed. There's a lot to see and do, and when you get into battles, the turn-based combat is nothing to scoff at. It's certainly a lot better in Infinite Wealth, but it's great in both games. I love how many different jobs there are. I like how there's actually a bit of strategy here, and it's just got all the weird Yakuza shit that goes on in these games, and I really enjoyed. I know it's not for everybody, but I really enjoy the combat of both of these games. When it comes to the side content, it's also incredible stuff. And there's so much of it. You could easily put in 70, 80, 90 hours into both of these games and still be seeing a bunch of new stuff. I've actually put that much time into both of these games because I just love them to pieces. And what's great is you don't have to have played the previous like 12 games to understand what's going on here. These very much are like soft reboots. Like, yes, they obviously very much reference the older games. There's a bunch of throwbacks and callbacks, but the older games are not required reading here. But I said I was going to keep things brief, so I'll just say, go play these games immediately. So here we got a pretty different game. We have Street Fighter 6. If you put a gun to my head and said, what is the best fighting game of the 2020s? I'm saying Street Fighter 6 like immediately. I would love to say Tekken 8, but after all of those updates, yeah, I don't know. But also shout out to Guilty Gear Strive, but none of them compare to Street Fighter 6 in my opinion. This game, it just goes so hard, man. It is such a great game, and it's only been getting better and better. They've been adding more characters, a few quality of life adjustments, like, it's just excellent. It really is the premier fighting game. It feels amazing. It's incredibly user-friendly. It's probably the most user-friendly Street Fighter game of them all. They want everybody to try this game, but there is so much depth here. The game actually launched with a pretty good cast of characters, and all of them are wildly different from each other, and like I said, they've been adding even more characters here, and it's really impressive just how different everyone is. Yeah, there are plenty of other Street Fighter games with way more characters, but do they all feel this different from each other, and does the game feel as good as this? I don't think so. The controls really are something else here. They're just excellent. And then the game actually has a fair amount of content to it. It has a pretty lengthy, beefy single player. There's tons of other modes thrown in here, and then the multiplayer is actually very well done. Street Fighter 6 also looks incredible, and the soundtrack is really popping off. I got nothing but good things to say about this one. If you're somebody who even remotely likes fighting games and you haven't tried Street Fighter 6, well then how much do you really enjoy fighting games is my question for you. And I say that because I don't think you're going to find a better fighting game that has come out in the last 5 years. And so obviously this one comes highly recommended. So here we have one that absolutely does not need an introduction, and that is Cyberpunk 2077. Now when this game launched in 2020, yep, it was a flaming piece of dog shit, but here we are 5 years later, and I think the game is pretty good now. It's, you know, where it kind of should have been to begin with, but hey, at least we eventually got there. Cyberpunk 2077 has a lot of great qualities about it. It looks really incredible, like seriously, the game is still a looker. It has just a truly exceptional story with some of the best writing you'll find in any game over the last 5 to 10 years, and it has a lot of memorable characters. Like a few other games I brought up today, there's really not a bad character here. They all have serious motivation, they all have some really excellent dialogue, and they're just all really memorable. This game is full of memorable moments. It has a bunch of moments that live rent-free in my head to this day. Like, it's really excellent, and when it comes to the gameplay, it's a really solid action RPG. The combat feels way better, the shooting is actually nice, there's different options in the combat, and I enjoy how much customization there is. I enjoy the open world. It's actually very well detailed. It feels alive, and there's just a lot going on here. There's a lot of side content as well that is very meaningful and engaging, similar to Witcher 3, and I found it all to be actually quite compelling. The game's got a good pace to it. The length is pretty nice as well, and you can spend a lot of time in Night City. Since the game's release, obviously there was a bunch of updates and they added a bunch of little things, but there was also a major DLC that kicked some serious ass as well. While the game obviously had a very rough start, what you have here now is genuinely one of the best RPGs over the last 5 to 10 years. And I think you'd be pretty hard pressed to find anybody that doesn't like the game nowadays, unless I guess you're still playing it on your PS4. I don't think they ever updated that version, but for everybody else, yeah, we got a pretty great game here. Well, hey, this list isn't completely devoid of 2D games. Here we have Super Mario Wonder. Now, Super Mario Wonder was the first new 2D Mario game in a very long time, but it's also like the best 2D Mario game since Super Mario World. I love this game way more than the new Super Mario Brothers games, and I have no problem coming back to this one just to re-experience some of this game's incredible levels. I will also say that the controls and feel of this game is just outstanding. Like, it feels incredible. It's one of the best controls 2D games I've ever played. But anyway, back to those levels. This game has some of the craziest, most memorable levels of not only any Mario game, but really any 2D game. Every single level is incredibly different from the last. Each one has its own unique gimmick. Each one tries to do something different, and it's so much fun. So many of them just work. It actually comes together and creates a very unique experience. There's a hell of a lot of variety, and I'd argue that no two levels feel the same. Like, I really did enjoy my time with this one. But the good things don't end there. I love how this game looks. It has a really nice art style to it. The music, I mean, the music is just some really good shit. And then you can play the entire game cooperatively. And it's not the annoying shit like New Super Mario Bros. Where you could like affect each other. No, you don't affect each other, and I think the co-op's actually really good. I think the game also has some really stellar pacing. It doesn't waste your time whatsoever. It gets things moving like that, and you start getting into the really awesome levels within the first hour even. Like say Astrobot, it's another one of those experiences where I think from the moment you start the game all the way until the credits roll, it's nothing but quality, which is exactly why it's on a list like this. We may not have gotten a new 3D Mario game in the 2020s, but we got a pretty amazing 2D one. So here's one you maybe didn't expect to see on a list like this, but I love this game, and that is Cult of the Lamb. From the moment I saw this game, I knew I wanted to check it out. Then I got it and immediately got hooked. And then I looked over at the clock and like 8 hours had passed. Yeah, it's one of those games where time just melts when you play it. It just successfully creates one of the most addicting gameplay loops I've had in the 2020s. It's this amazing mix of like Animal Crossing and a cult simulator, but also a dungeon crawler like say Hades or Binding of Isaac. And it all just comes together in this beautiful, unique way. The game looks beautiful as well. I love the cute art style and just how cuddly everybody looks. I mean, look, it's all these really cute little animals, but then you're doing a bunch of satanic cult shit. But aw, they're so cute. And then I named all of them after my friends, and it got really scary really fast. I actually love the cult management side of things more than the dungeon crawling gameplay. Like, this kind of felt like Animal Crossing, but at the same time, it was something that's actually very different from Animal Crossing, and it was just so engaging. Something about this loop really connected with me. It really resonated, and I just had so much fun creating my little cult. You really get to customize everything, and you become very attached to your cult members, sometimes too attached even, and I bring them back from the dead. But when you're not taking care of your cult, there is the dungeon crawler gameplay, and you know what, this is fine enough. It's a decent Hades-like. It's not amazing, but it gets the job done, and it further adds to the overall experience. I also really love the music. It's just so chill. The entire game is really chill. It's just such a nice vibe. Cult of the Lamb is absolutely a mood, and it's a mood that I really dig. I'm smelling what this game's cooking. I'm picking up what it's putting down. Not enough people still talk about Cult of the Lamb. It was a real hit. And there's even been a bunch of updates throughout the years. They even added co-op to this thing. I hope in the future we get a Cult of the Lamb too, but for now, we got this gem. And so here's another one that I feel like doesn't get enough attention these days, and that is Returnal. I'm actually really surprised with how much I truly enjoyed this game. When I first tried it a few years ago, I actually didn't care all that much for it, but the second time I picked it up, man, something clicked, it came together, and I love this game. I just sat down and marathoned this game. And I would say that it's one of the best roguelikes ever. It's not Hades quality, but this shit is really good, and it's certainly got the presentation to back it up as well. This game was published by PlayStation, and it absolutely has that presentation. It's a beautiful looking game. Our main character, Celine, just looks stupid realistic and good. The environments are really well detailed. The lighting is great. Like, this is just a good looking game, straight up. The story's really interesting with her reliving this same day over and over and trying to break the loop, but then the gameplay, that's absolutely where this game shines. It is not an easy game, not at all, but it's also a mix of a roguelike, a bullet hell, and a third-person shooter, and it comes together in a really nice way. The shooting feels really nice, it very much rewards good play, and it really incentivizes you to get better and better. For instance, the longer you go without taking damage, the higher combo you build, meaning you do more damage yourself. Like, you don't want to be getting hit, you want to be dodging everything left, right, and center, and you'll start absolutely wrecking fools. And the combat actually feels really nice in this game. I think the weapons feel great, everything's got a good kick to it, and then the game just has a really compelling loop, kind of like Hades, Cult of the Lamb, Balatro, etc. It just has that loop where you want to keep coming back for more and more, and there's plenty of incentive to keep coming back, not only to move the story forward, but to go to new areas, get new weapons, fight new enemies. I found it very compelling, and throughout the years, like most of these games, there's been some nice updates for it. They've added co-op, and it's really the best that it can possibly be. This is certainly not a game for everybody. There are a lot of people that don't really care for Returnal, and there's a lot of the PlayStation crowd that came to this expecting another, story-driven experience, like say Uncharted or Horizon, and they were hit with this actually really challenging third-person shooter that's pretty fast-paced, but you know what? I loved it. I was just digging what this game had, and I think it's going to go down as one of the more underrated games of the 2020s, at least when it comes to AAA games. And so with that, I totally recommend this one. And then to finish things off here, we have Pikmin 4. Now, I love the Pikmin franchise. I grew up with Pikmin 1 and 2. They're some of my favorite games of all time. So when I saw Pikmin 4, I was pretty damn excited, but I did not realize just how good this game would be until I really played through it. And all I gotta say is wow, like this game really moves the Pikmin formula to the next stage. It evolves it, there's a lot of quality of life improvements, and it's arguably the best Pikmin game of them all. It's also gargantuan. I did 100% it, but it took me well past the 40 or 50 hour mark. That is like as long as Pikmin 1, 2, and 3 combined, but it was so enjoyable. I had such a great time getting everything I possibly could. I loved all of the new additions this game brought. I like the dog, I like the new Pikmin, I love these new areas. They're so well designed. Collecting everything is just such a great time. There's some puzzle, there's some strategy, the dungeons are handcrafted and really well done. And there's just so much to it, and it never got stale, at least for me personally. Not even by the end. After 40 plus hours, I was like, man, I don't want this to end. I'm having such a good time with Pikmin 4. It looks incredible. The music is great. It really is like a perfection on the Pikmin formula. It absolutely gets my highest recommendation. If you like Pikmin 1 or 2 or 3, you must check this one out. It doesn't get any better. I could sing to the high heavens about this one, and I have in the past, but for now, I'm gonna chill and just say that's the end of this video. It's a pretty long one. What are your favorite games from the 2020s? Spicy Nug, you already know what's up. Anyway, I'll talk to you all later. Stay safe. See ya.